you the quantum mechanics?
Yes, we are the Quantum Mechanics. We're the paranormal podcast for the believers, the doubters, and everyone in between. Got a bit of a Vardiger to tell you about, Ben.
That is one of my favourite Vardigers, and well, basically anything. But I love a Vardiger. What happened?
Well, like all Vardiger stories, it's, you know what I mean. They're pretty simple. It's not. There's no great narrative here, but
you hear somebody coming home ahead of them actually arriving home.
Yeah. So yesterday, it's probably around 4:45. I was pottering about in the kitchen, doing a bit of cooking, and that's about the time my son normally comes home, somewhere between 4:45 and 5 o'clock, right, from school. So I heard the front door go and close, and I shouted out, "Hey, how you doing? How'd it go?" Complete silence, and I thought, "Oh, is he okay?" So I left the kitchen, walked out, no one there. I was the only one in the house, nobody there, and my front door's very distinctive, so it's not like the wind could have blown another door closed or anything like that.
No, it's a double front door.
Yeah, and so I was like, "Oh, that's weird." So I looked out of the little glass window, and he was just walking up the drive.
Oh, that is a proper Vardiger.
Proper Vardiger, right?
Oh, that's really good. So our latest Patreon pair, he told us about, he said they're as common in Norway as I suppose I can't think of it, as rabbits in Britain. He said, they don't even bother
right.
relaying the stories.
No,
they're so regular. That's a brilliant one. So I related one where in the stories that we told before, where somebody had also heard the Vardiger of their wife walking around in new high-heeled shoes when she'd gone out in flat shoes. Right. That to me is like the gold level.
Yeah,
of
that's
Vardiger.
gold, because that's
really
got some purpose too. That's the other thing with Vardigers. It's like, I was thinking about, because with one of the early episodes we was Vardiger and Banshees, and I guess the difference with the Vardiger is there's, a Banshee, it's a premonition of death, or it's giving you some information. I guess Vardiger's doing the same. All it's really telling you is somebody's about to come home. But I knew he was about to come home anyway, so it was like, you know what I mean? It feels completely pointless. What's the purpose? But yeah, I had it.
I don't know.
Distinctly heard the front door go, and I'm like, hey, how was your day? It was like, no one there.
So we've both had Vardigers now.
Yeah. Weird.
That's really good. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, here's to more Vardigers. Oh, did you have the dog with you, by the way?
Did I have the dog?
I only wondered if he'd reacted.
Oh, no, that's a really good point. Did have the dog, and the dog didn't move. And normally when the front door goes, the dog's like first out to the door to see who's coming home. So the dog didn't hear it.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I think with your one, the dog did hear it.
He
right?
did. Yeah. He ran down the stairs.
Yeah, no, the dog didn't hear it. I hadn't really thought of that. Yeah, because, my dog, as soon as, if somebody walks past the house, he's off and about, let alone somebody coming through the front doors. So, yeah, it was really interesting. But it's funny, though, Vardiger, it doesn't feel weird. I didn't feel spooked out. I didn't feel strange. You just go, I just had a Vardiger.
Yeah.
That's all I said. Just had a Vardiger.
Oh, well, I think this might be a cue for the next week. If people get their Vardiger stories in, come join us, patreon.com/TQM pod.
Yeah.
And join us for about $5 a month. It depends where you are in the world. And you get access to our adverts. We get access to our episodes. Advert free a month, a week in advance. I'm all over the place today.
You get adverts, episode free.
You get adverts, episode free, a week in advance. You also get Better Peter's Extra Scoop. You also get access to the Discord server. And more importantly, you get access to everybody else who is joining in that ever-growing community.
If it's a Vardiger thing, surely we'll know about 5 minutes before you join that you have.
We'll hear them logging in, possibly.
That's an interesting one. Online.
A digital Vardiger.
Yeah.
Right, well, I've got for you possibly... so last week I said I want to do something that is neither ghost nor alien.
Okay.
I've sort of slightly succeeded, although this is more...
Is it both ghosts and aliens?
Well... It is sort of alien, but it is the most ridiculous alien story I've ever related.
Brilliant.
And it made me laugh out loud.
Okay.
But it's not just one story, it's a bunch of stories all connected with one thing. Let me introduce you to France in 1968. Yes.
Hey?
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, it's almost as if we're producing the show now. We're not in Café René, but we're on Réunion Island, which is an enclave of France. It's a little volcanic speck in the Indian Ocean, about 1,000 miles east of Madagascar. And we're joining a farmer named Monsieur Fontaine, and he's tending his crops in the pre-dawn darkness of Le Plain de Cafré.
Good mooning.
Perfect. The air is still, and he is wandering up at the stars because it's one of those extraordinary nights that you get where the Milky Way is just so visible and the night feels like it's, you know, where the stars are so bright you can almost see your hand in them.
Yeah.
And then he sees an egg-shaped craft. But don't worry, this is not just any old alien encounter. Because as he observes this thing coming to hover above his field, it's about 30 feet long, it's got a dome on top, and a transparent window, and there's two figures in there. And imagine his surprise when those two figures are not the alien grey that you might be expecting.
Did they have berries on?
No, they are the Michelin Man.
Oh,
both
really?
of them, yeah, they both look like the Michelin Man, the tyre mascot, who is made, if you know this, of stacked white tyres.
Yeah.
He's called Bibendum.
Yes.
And they're watching him. He reports it immediately to the gendarmerie.
How did that go down?
Well, the French authorities investigate, and they do find enhanced radioactivity at the site.
Wow.
But today I'm going to tell you about dozens of these encounters spreading across 30 years and four continents, all seemingly encounters with our little tyre friend.
Really? All with the Michelin?
Yeah, but they all vary in incredible ways.
Wow.
But this is brilliant. So if you don't know, he's called Bibendum because that is it's part of like Greek mythology.
Yeah.
And the very first time he was portrayed as a cartoon, it was because Monsieur Michelin's son, he pointed out a set of tyres in a yard and said, "Oh, that looks like a man." And so they decided to get a cartoonist to turn it into a character. But the earliest ones, he's called Bibendum because it's really weird. In the cartoon, he's got a big glass full of like spiky things and rocks that he's downing because they're supposed the tyres are resilient. Yeah.
Got it, right. So he can take all that stuff without puncturing himself.
Exactly. So we've got accounts from Spain, Argentina, Brazil, Belgium, Kansas, Arizona, and of course I just told you about this remote island.
Monsieur.
But let's begin where many researchers believe this started, and that is France in 1950. And it's the tiny village of Vaux-en-Doulet. It's easy for me to accidentally not practice.
To murder.
It's in the Ardennes region anyway.
Okay.
And a young girl was walking with her father when something descended from the sky. As you can imagine, it was a disc. It's transparent, and through the surface, she could see a figure, this time 3 to 4 feet tall, with a round helmet from which tubes extended down to what appeared to be air tanks on its back. So it's like wearing a spacesuit of sight. She would later describe it. She said it looked exactly like Bibendum, and that is what made her scared because she was very aware of this character. So on the garages out there in rural France, there is a picture of this Michelin Man everywhere. And she said, she does a double take. She's like, what is the Michelin Man doing driving this spacecraft?
That's really interesting. So in her description, potentially the kind of puffiness, whatever, is a spacesuit rather than how the entity that she believes she's seeing looks. That's really interesting.
That's right. Now,
they love a puffer jacket, the aliens.
They do. I find it amazing. So we're going to get onto accounts of different versions of this. It's a bit like a Doctor Who character. Some of them are even read. But this girl, she's with her father. Both of them are paralysed, and they can't move for about 30 seconds until the creature basically just vanishes, and they do that thing where they come out of a trance,
Right.
and suddenly they don't know where they are. And she says that her and her father didn't really speak about this for years, and they certainly didn't tell anybody else. It wasn't until 1980 that she came forward, because she had read other accounts of people coming across Bibendum in this particular scenario. And she was like, oh, I'm not the only one then. I don't sound crazy.
When you say they didn't talk about it, they agreed not to talk about it, or
No.
they didn't feel the need to?
No, she just said she was never compelled. She never felt compelled to do so.
It's really weird. It's reminding me, I think I've told this story on the podcast before. My only example of what I thought was a UFO, and I was walking with my mum on the estate that we lived, and I looked up, and it was the classic triangle-shaped craft. And I think I've said before, I was absolutely obsessed with UFOs at this time. I was like Close Encounters of the First Kind, poster on the wall, any noise in the night, I'd be looking out for a UFO. This thing flies over our head, and me and my mum just look up at it casually and just go, oh, that's weird. And then we just kept walking, and we never talked about it again.
So that is something, so many times we hear of these accounts where people see it. So famously, when we did the encounter at Devil's Den, and they say that they go out of their tent and see these little characters running around and this huge craft the size of a football pitch. And what do? They just go back to bed in the tent, as if there was nothing there. Just, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then when they first see them, they just think, oh, they must be children. Why are the children out here at this time of night? Don't know. Doesn't really matter. Let's go back to bed.
Yeah.
So strange.
So she now, a few years later, hears more stories like this and comes forward and goes, no, I had something similar. Wow.
Yeah, well, to fully understand why the Bibendum phenomena is so interesting, we have to kind of go back to 1950s France and understand it was kind of the year or the small period where France lost its mind about UFOs. You see, in early September of 1954, hundreds, nay thousands of UFO reports swept across the French countryside, and it wasn't just lights in the sky. People were watching craft land, and people were seeing beings emerge, and the newspapers were full of it. So Paris Match and Francois, these are regional newspapers, every day were reporting on these phenomena.
Right.
So farmers, housewives, soldiers, children, all of them were describing a similar thing, but obviously without any explanation. So a good example is on September the 10th, Marius de Wilde, a steelworker living near the Belgian border in the village of Courubel, heard his dog barking,
Weird.
and went outside to investigate. On the railroad tracks near his house, he found a dark mass, and on closer inspection, he realised it was a craft, and there were two beings who were walking around it. When they saw him, they started coming towards him. Again, 3 feet tall. They wore one-piece suits and what he described as oversized helmets. When he tried to approach them, he was struck by a beam of light that he said paralysed him completely, and he couldn't move a muscle until the beings returned to their craft and it lifted them into the sky. Again, very similar to the first account by the young girl. The police found unusual marks on the railway and impressions that suggested something extremely heavy had rested there in the soil around them. This is September 54. By October, France is awash with reports, and a lot of them describe this very specific thing. So in late 54, somewhere between Maubeuge and Auberge in the north of France, a husband and wife are driving home at night. Their headlights catch something in the road ahead. At first, they think it might be some kind of debris, a barrel perhaps, or some farm equipment that have fallen off a truck.
A tyre.
A tyre, yeah, exactly. But when they slow down, they realise it wasn't debris. It was an object sitting in the middle of the road, smooth and curved, and the husband describes it as being like a fat shell. And standing beside it is a 4 foot tall figure. The figure's body appears to be made of rolls, horizontal segments placed upon each other, just like inner tubes or tyres.
Wow.
Its proportions are strange, though. The head seemed to flow directly into the body without any clear neck, and the limbs were short and described as almost vestigial. The couple stopped the car, and for a long moment, nothing happened. They both just stood at each other, and there's this kind of... It's described almost as like a blink-off. Neither can believe that the other is there, and there's no movement. It's just the sound of this car engine. And they're like literally looking at this thing going, how are we seeing this character? When the couple report the incident, they're dismissed as having had too much wine and dinner. You know, the drink drive limit at that time in France was 9 bottles each. But they were not the last people to describe it in a very similar region. So the following year, in the coastal town of Dinan, a man stepped out of his home one evening and found visitors waiting. They weren't at his door, though. They were standing nearby in a courtyard in front of a large dome disc. So the way he describes it, again, it could be shell-shaped as per the previous account. But he does describe they're literally just like tapping their feet and like, when's he going to come out? And they seem to visibly step up. You know that thing where you've been waiting for a friend outside for ages?
It's like going, Zorgon's going, oh, Zimadorfa, he needs a wee. We need to stop. Hello, farmer.
Bonjour. Their bodies, again, had this distinctive segmented appearance, rolls of material for their torsos and limbs. And on their chest, they had boxes of some kind, equipment or life support systems. And interestingly, in this one, they describe the movement as they are awkward, as if walking were difficult for them. Their joints didn't quite work the way that human joints do.
Right.
Now, I really love this idea of equipment on the chest, because that is very 1950s sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
And it's also described as having lights and dials on there.
Oh, wow.
So this is before we've kind of come to a point where we realise that maybe touch screens are a thing. I mean, touch screens weren't even a thing really in the 80s, let alone the 50s. Yeah. But the idea that these advanced civilizations, it's like steampunk is what they're describing.
Yeah, it's a real mechanical solution.
Yes, but I also really like the idea that these things are kind of presenting in a way that somehow makes sense to the humans, because it's almost like somebody came past Earth, saw this diagram or sort of cartoon of the Michelin Man and went, he's probably some kind of leader or something like that.
He's everywhere. He must be famous.
He's everywhere, yeah, absolutely. He seems to like eating a lot as well, because his pictures at a lot of restaurants. Yeah. What we'll do is that'll be what we appear like, and we'll put this box on the front so that like they're not scared and they realise that, you know, we're kind of like super sci-fi advanced type beings.
What it's reminded me of, you mentioned this the other week when we were talking about something. And you mentioned, it sounds like a Doctor Who alien. This sounds right out of the playbook.
Oh, doesn't it?
Of a
just
doctor, you know,
because it's like a
Michelin
cheap
Man.
costume.
Yeah. The puffy Michelin Man.
Well, it's also it made me think of like the Marshmallow Man.
I was thinking that in Ghostbusters.
Yeah. And we've also had encounters. So when we've been speaking about Harlequin type beings, that like Sam, the Sandown Clown, those sorts of Harlequin beings. We've also had people who have described them as coming across like the Licorice Allsort Man, Bertie Bassett.
Yeah. And also there is that connection with Sam of the equipment as well. His little karaoke machine and stuff.
Yes, I hadn't thought of that. Yes, that's right. Well, anyway, these beings, so we kind of, I like that awkward movement is often associated with like Men in Black type of thing.
Yeah.
But then he realises on closer inspection, they are looking at something on the ground and he doesn't know what. And then when they kind of notice
That's
him...
where it's all going to have the wee.
They're trying to collect a sample for the space vet, yeah. He couldn't see what it was, and when he got a little bit closer, they kind of like stand up awkwardly, as definitely in a kind of bonjour, au revoir, and then they kind of like move back to the craft.
It's probing time.
Well, I think that's what they're worried about. It's like reverse probing time. He's going to get his pressure device out and deflate them. Anyway, as soon as they get in the craft, he describes it as the disc lifted off unusually fast. Like they didn't stop to put seatbelts on or anything. Just get in and off it goes.
What they may have been afraid of, this whole thing is reminding me of that story I did about there was a law passed in France in Châteauneuf-du-Pape where UFOs could get like the equivalent of parking tickets.
Oh yeah,
they landed.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they were worried about. If we stay here any longer, we're going to get one of those parking tickets. We better go. Well,
if they had given him a parking ticket, they'd have probably felt pretty let down. So anyway, sorry, no more Thai jokes.
They're getting tired.
They're very, very sorry. Anyway, right, what you should know is he didn't report that for 15 years for the same reason. He felt like, not just that nobody would believe him, again, he didn't feel like he could talk about it. And then, again, what compelled him to was reading other people's reports. And suddenly he's like, well, I saw the Michelin Man as well.
Well, you can see that would be, it's tough enough to kind of come forward and say you've seen something unusual. But then, the next question would be, what did it look like? And then you go, the Michelin Man. They go, thanks for coming in. Well, we've made a note of that. We'll
nice
keep an eye.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a coffee on the way out.
Yeah.
Okay, let's leave France for a second and go south to Andalusia. It's 1960 and a motorcyclist is riding through the countryside near Jerez de la Frontera, which is a region known for sherry, flamenco, and, according to my notes, Andalusian horses. Mm-hmm. It's late evening and the road is empty. And then he sees them by the roadside. There's two of them this time. But these accounts are different to the French accounts. This time they're not small. One of them, in fact, is enormous, 7 feet tall. Wow. The other one is closer to average human height, but still unmistakably strange, looking like Bibendum. But this time they're red. So they've still got this segmented stacked tyre appearance. But the suits, all their bodies are this deep crimson colour. And he isn't exactly clear. He doesn't know whether it's a suit or whether it's a body. I mean, how could you? He didn't get to touch them. Again, they're moving oddly. And the tall one especially seems to be walking as if injured, like lurching uneven steps, as if the act of, locomotion on Earth is painful or unfamiliar. So maybe the gravity is different. Maybe it's just this suit and he's not used to it. It's very hard to speculate. The
French ones, did you say they were more like the original Michelin Man? They were white.
They're white, yeah. they're either white or very pale grey.
There's a few things that go through my head with that. Yes, the idea that, it's some kind of it's a uniform or an astronauty type outfit. Maybe they're from a different region, maybe they're a different type. The red ones are the military, the white ones are not. That was going through my mind. Also, it was making me think of, I think it's in Arthur C. Clarke's final book in the 2001 whatever, I can't remember what date it is, 2035 or something like that. Anyway, there are these creatures in that who communicate not through language but through colour, which I thought was quite interesting. That could it be a reflection of their mood rather than necessarily that, hey, they wear the red ones?
Like a cuttlefish.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah, okay. Yeah, and as everybody knows, we don't eat octopus on this show.
Yeah, because they're aliens.
Because they're aliens, that's right, yes. Because we're allergic to seafood. No, it isn't that. In this example, the motorcyclist doesn't see a craft. He accelerates right past them. He doesn't want to stop. And again, though, what's interesting about this case, again, the same level of silence. He doesn't say anything until 1980. This next one, we're coming much closer to home. We are in Newbury with a schoolgirl called Kithra, and she's 14 years old in 1962, a student at a boarding school there. It's located about 2 miles from Greenham Common Air Base. You probably will have heard of that.
I
It's
know,
where,
I know that area very well.
the American military installation that was active during the Cold War and potentially held nuclear weapons. One evening after lights out, Kithrow watched a friend run away down the long school drive. She kept watching idly as her friend reached the main road and disappeared. Then she saw something else. On the road to her left was a figure. It was walking, and these are her words, if you could call it walking, up the slope of the road towards the crest of a nearby hill. It was very tall, very, very tall, and she could only describe it as a Michelin man. Wow. What struck her as being so strange, beyond the obvious, was that there should have been cars and headlights and traffic noise, and there was nothing. The road was completely empty and silent. It was as if she was watching through a window, and time had stopped, even though she'd watched her friend go up there. And then this kind of strange being sort of follows the friend at a distance. Now, what she says is she doesn't remember going to bed, but she knows she did because she woke up in bed. And again, she doesn't try and report it. She doesn't go to a teacher and say, look, my friend has just been followed by a 7-foot alien who looks like the Michelin man. She's like, oh, well, never mind. I'll just go to bed. Weird, isn't it?
It's strange. Well, one thing that's running through my mind, this might not be something we know. I mean, I've not come across this description of an alien creature before. I'm not saying that may just be that I've never come across it, but I mean, I guess a skeptic argument would be when people start claiming they've seen a thing and describe it, that then other people almost see it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, you could argue that's where we get the stereotypical grey alien from if you're a skeptic. Dog's arrived. But I guess my question is, were reports, it doesn't sound like it, reports of this Michelin man spreading around and then people are picking up on it and then just going, oh yeah, I saw one of those as well. It doesn't seem like that. No,
it's years later. Wow. When people start pulling these reports together, and they're in different countries. Don't forget, obviously, 50s and 60s, the only way people could share reports would be in newspapers. Now, I did say that the newspapers were doing these reports on a regular basis on a flap in France. By the time we get to 1967, those reports are kind of long since gone. And the key part of that, what I was sort of saying, is the shape of the occupants wasn't well reported. The fact that they were seeing craft was well reported. The element of the Michelin man occupant was often left till much later, and it was only a trickle of reports, so it wasn't copycat people coming forward, not as far as we can tell. I mean, there might be somebody that sort of wants to argue against that, but I think that translating to the sighting of a 14-year-old schoolgirl in a private school in the middle of nowhere, 14 years after the first sighting in France. I think the idea that she would make up a Michelin man, 7 feet tall, chasing her friend, I think it's a little bit far-fetched.
But there's also the intriguing bit of, as you've said, Greenham Common, nuclear facility, you know, that's reports of activity around those types of sites are very common, so that adds a little bit of credibility to it, I think.
It does. It does get weirder, though, and I particularly like this one from 1967. On a road near Pierre Bouffier, I think I went to school with him.
Pierre Bouffier.
It's in the Limousin region, and there's a couple.
Does that translate as Peter likes a buffet?
I think it's Buff Peter.
Right, okay, I'll take it.
This couple who are driving home at night, their headlights illuminate something happening in the roadside brush. And when they stop and have a little bit more of a look, there's our familiar bulbous figure, 3 foot tall. But what happens is, unlike other cases, because this character, he raises up an arm and waves at them.
I love this.
And now, when he stands up, he doesn't walk away, he doesn't run away. It rises slightly off the ground and drifts horizontally into the darkness.
Wow.
And the translation from the French occupants of the car was, "It is as if gravity was merely a suggestion to this character."
Brilliant. Now, if I remember, I haven't got my phone with me, so I can't Google it. The Michelin Man.
Hello.
The Michelin Man. Hasn't he doing a wave?
He is doing a
the
wave.
logo.
I was about to point that out.
Yeah.
Yes. So in the original ones, no.
Right.
In the ones we've come to know, have you noticed, like probably since we were kids, he is slimmed down.
Yeah.
He's got now a big grin.
Yeah.
The face is kind of like less tires stacked on top of tires for the shoulder.
Yeah.
It's more of like a white sort of face he's got.
Yeah.
And he's usually running, waving.
Yeah.
And probably on his way to his next restaurant to kind of go, well, I like the beef here, have a star.
Yeah, yeah. He is a bit more Pierre LaBeouf, isn't he?
He's Pierre LaBeouf.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, this might have seeded lots of other people to come out, or it might just be copycats. You pointed this out. But after we spoke about that previous character and the wave, what we then get in time to 67, which is where I started with this guy in the middle of his farming, and he sees these characters. But very soon after that, because I wanted to do this in timeline, we get to Buenos Aires in 1972. A witness encounter in the suburbs of the city. He, in fact, doesn't want to release his name. He never did release his name. This is an anonymous report. He says he hears it first, which is a low humming sound, electrical. He looks up and a domed disc is hovering overhead, brightly lit, glowing, and there's an internal luminescence. And through the dome, yes, you've guessed it, Michelin men, but they're wearing helmets. Again, from the helmets, there are tubes, there's a box, exactly the same description as by the girl in Vaux on Display in 1950. Their bodies segmented, all the same. This time the witness isn't paralysed, but he is really scared. And the craft hovers above him for a number of minutes. He's not quite sure how many minutes, but then it accelerates away. This particular case was submitted to Dr. J. Allen Hynek.
Okay.
And this
gas.
this was for Project Blue Book, and that's why it waited till 1972 to be reported. And it was sent for consideration to be the National Enquirer's Award for the best UFO case of the year. Yeah, I mean, that
doesn't really help your credibility, though.
No. But the reason why it is so interesting is that in Argentina at that time, the Michelin Man as an advertising symbol did have minimal presence.
Okay.
It wasn't as if it was something that was so easily copied from something that people would have experienced every day.
Whereas, in France, it's a cultural phenomena in that sense, or a media phenomena. But
Now here's a very convincing one, because this involves people who don't know each other, but they're all observing the same thing.
Okay.
We're back in France, and it's 1974, and we're in the village of Saint-Nizier. And this case takes place with 3 motorists driving on the same road at different times in the same evening. They all report seeing the classic figure, small, about 3 foot tall, as everybody else has reported, looking like the Michelin Man. One of the motorists, though, has an experience the others don't. As she slows down, as she approaches the figure, she's like more curious than the rest. And the figure approaches her car. Now, this would have terrified me. It knocks on her window. She said it wasn't threatening. It wasn't like trying to break in. It was just a...
Hello.
And...
Hello.
as if this being, from wherever it had come from, had learned that you knock on car windows to get an attention. Right. She obviously doesn't open the window, and she hits the accelerator and drives off. And in the rear view mirror, she sees the character
coming rude,
turn and run awkwardly, as it always seems to be, into the bushes. But before he does that, heartbreakingly, she said he looked forlorn.
Oh.
So he's like...
He was rude. I was just saying hello.
hello. Yeah. Oh. And he runs back to the bushes.
If only she'd handled that situation differently.
I know. And I bring that up because at the end of it, or there are 3 motorist reports from that particular region of the road at the same time. They're all submitted to police.
See what happened to her, or having
having their own experience, seeing the character, seeing the
he was
seeing the
obviously
figure.
in trouble.
Well,
I think
he needed to borrow a pump.
Yeah. His left arm had deflated.
Yeah. Now this again is slightly different. We're back on Reunion now. This is 1975. 20-year-old man is jogging home in the early evening. His route takes him past an open field. This time he starts hearing beeping in his ears, like electronic tones.
Right.
And he stops running and he feels compelled to stop. He can't explain why. Then he gets this heat and intense enveloping warmth, like he's standing close to an open fire, basically.
Right.
And then he feels like he's paralysed, he can't move. And a craft descends, round disc-like dome on top, as per the others.
Okay.
Metallic. This time, this is so Bugs Bunny. A set of steps descends from it. Down they come.
Right.
Made me think of... what's our favourite case? The policeman.
Lonnie Zamora.
Yes, because that said there was a little staircase, yeah. But these stairs come down and 3 figures descend. Down they come. Little tiny Michelin men this time.
Smaller than 3 foot.
Yeah, they're less than 3 foot tall, but this time they've got an appendage. They've got antennas on their heads.
Oh, yes.
And they walk towards him again unnaturally, like side to side, as if they're like weebles. They're like this side, that side.
Wow.
And he says that they examine him, but he can't tell them how they examine him. He just said he felt...
It's probing time.
Well, maybe, but he says he just felt like they'd taken an unholy interest in him.
Right.
But he didn't have, like, clothes on back to front or anything like that.
Right.
He's like absolutely gobsmacked at what he's seeing. Yeah. And he's trying to see into the craft because they've left the door open and the ladder's down. And he's like, let me just peer in there. And then he sees a 4th figure who's got a helmet on who's still in the craft. And he's mentally going, I wonder how many of those can fit in that craft because they're quite small and that craft's not too big.
Right.
Then there's a massive flash of light. He finds himself on the ground. The craft is gone. The heat is gone. And he just carries on jogging home.
What year was this?
That is 75.
That's probably too early for dealy boppers, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. Well, yeah.
I'm just thinking if they're keeping up with the fashions, they're all wearing these things on their heads. Let's get some of those.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't, like, literally, I don't know, but I just find it...
You mean you don't know the answer to that question, whether they were dealy boppers or not?
But isn't it weird?
What kind of paranormal investigator are you?
But when we were kids... I'm sorry. I give up. All right, that's it.
Yeah.
When we were kids, when we started drawing... when we started drawing, it's like everyone goes through, when did you start drawing aliens? Oh, I was about 8. Really? Yeah. I was 7. No, but when you started messing around with it, 99% of the time, I think we drew... antenna on the head.
Yeah.
I used to draw like little green ones with like a TV antenna on the head, and I'm not quite sure where I got that from. It was just like, I think that's the sort of alien that kids drew in my school. But this thing's got antenna on. Just like I said before, they appear as you expect them to appear.
The ones with the antenna reminded me of the Teletubbies.
Right, yeah.
They would look like a Teletubby, wouldn't
honestly,
it?
there is such a distinct Teletubby vibe with all of these things because
that thing on the front as well.
Yes,
I know it's not. They're not wearing.
That's the TV tummy, isn't it? Yeah. And the fact that they are described like quite rotund, but that's because that is what that's what the Michelin Man looked like back then. He was a much larger figure, but it's so weird that they kind of like this time a few years later they add antenna. And this one is really good because I'm gonna keep going through some of these in time and they evolve. So this one is in Liria in 76. So this is Spain, and a couple again driving at night, and this time they see a bright oval light. Then their headlights catch a figure by the roadside. This one is average human height, so not tiny, not overly large. Same tyre-like experience. But this time, it's clear that it's wearing a suit, and it's almost black. And this time, they can see that underneath the segments are white, but he's got a black suit on.
Like a spacesuit, or is he going for a full three-piece?
Well, no, they just describe it as... Well, no, it's one piece. It's definitely one piece.
Right.
I mean, they don't describe it as a spacesuit because it could just be a jogging suit, but, you know... but what is really interesting about this particular Michelin man is that there are two bright points of illumination mounted where the ears would be on a human. That makes it impossible to see the face. So he's kind of got these bright lights in the ears, like torches, and when it looks towards them, it blinds them, so they can't see the face.
That's really weird, isn't it?
Yeah. And in this particular example, it doesn't walk, it rises and floats, it bobs along. They describe it like a balloon.
Interesting.
And as they drive past it, something else happens. Their car's lighting system dims, the headlights fade, the dashboard lights flicker, and when they're past, everything returns to normal. Now, doesn't that remind you of Close Encounters of the Third Kind? Out 2 years later in the cinema.
Yeah.
It's doing exactly what we expect it to do.
Yeah. Well, same with the antennae as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Now, I promised you Kansas, and in 1976 in Goodland, Kansas...
We are in Kansas anyway.
Yeah. This part is... this Goodland is near the Colorado border, in case you're wondering. A young couple is driving at night across the vast Kansas flatlands, and on the horizon, they see lights. Now, this is a really flat, expansive place, so on the horizon means it's a long way away.
Yeah.
Firstly, the group of three objects is moving together. Then it turns into a group of four. Then one of them breaks away and descends, coming much closer than the others. And then, well, they don't remember. The next thing they know, they're 90 miles from where they should be. Hours have passed, and they have no memory of the intervening time.
Okay, that's big.
But they have needle marks on their skin, scratches they can't explain, and a rash.
Wow.
They seek help from UFO researchers and undergo hypnotic regression. And under hypnotic regression, or under hypnosis as we say in the UK, separately and independently, they tell the same story. They were taken aboard a craft, they saw beings, three of them, about 5.5 feet tall, the Michelin Man. This case was published in the International UFO Reporter, the Journal of Hynek Center for UFO Studies. And the same couple have been regressed 3 times. Their story has never wavered, and when they're awake, they cannot collaborate the story. So when they've been interviewed out of hypnosis, they basically like, I don't know, I don't want to talk about it. I find this one the most compelling, but also because we're now in America in 1976, sure, there is a Michelin Man there, but these guys got right up close to them and they were examined medically by them.
It's probing time.
Yeah, it was. That makes me think about going to Quick Fit in an entirely different way.
Yeah. Wow.
It's weird.
It's so
isn't it?
weird. I'll tell you what's going through my mind of just... It's so weird that there's these descriptions of these aliens multiple occasions. Well, a couple of things going through my mind. You know, when we talked about the Bertie Bassett one?
Yeah.
Was that a UK sighting? I know that's really tough for you to answer.
I can't remember, but you're thinking about whether people have been exposed to the advertising,
and that's what
image, yeah.
not necessarily what they see, but that's how they interpret it. So if you're in France or somewhere where the Michelin Man is ubiquitous, you go, yeah, it was the Michelin Man. Whereas if you're in the UK, you're going to go, well, it looked like the Bertie Bassett, character.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree. But there are people here who, like, I don't think a couple in Kansas would necessarily... I mean, again, of course they are likely to have seen the Michelin Man at some point.
Yeah.
But it feels like an unlikely place for their brains to necessarily go to. I mean, there's another one. I mean, I'm not going to keep going through them all because they do become homogenous.
But say it's, I think there is a difference there, because it's not like they're saying it is the Michelin Man. It sounds like they're all saying it looked like the Michelin Man. So that's a very different thing. It doesn't matter whether they know it as the Michelin Man or not, does it?
No. Well, I was going to point out this. So 1979, there were two boys, 10 and 13, in Belgium. They see a flying saucer land. They see the Michelin Man walk out of it. Their account is so, I suppose, it's so well recorded is probably the word. It goes into a lot of great detail about how it moved, how individual parts of the body seem to relate to other individual parts of the body. It was almost went into biological detail because the boys spent so long observing it. And this, in terms of one of the authors that I was looking at, he puts this down to like, this goes beyond childhood imagination, because they start talking about how the knee appears to work on these characters.
It's very detailed.
Very, very detailed. And I think that would take a lot of imagination. So other people have said, they just walk along and appear awkward. And these boys were like, well, no, it's kind of articulated, and there's like this lump around the knee area. And it's very, very interesting the way they put it.
It does make you think, how do the, greys fit into all this? Do you know what I mean? Because this doesn't sound at all in appearance similar to a grey in any way.
No.
You couldn't mistake it for a grey. So if we go with it, this is a very different entity or alien, right, than the greys. I know that the greys could be connected to them, but it's really interesting that the grey has become the go-to look of aliens, where it sounds like there are a lot of examples of these Michelin men are out there.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I mean, when we think about what aliens look like, we all go to greys, probably because that is what's become synonymous in current literature and in films largely, but also Nordics, the tall Nordics.
Yeah, the lizard people,
the reptilians, the blue avians. But I'd never come across a Michelin Man. But I have got reports of some crazy ass looking aliens
really?
coming up in the extra scoop.
Excellent.
Oh yeah.
Come and join us for that. So after we finish this episode, the extra scoop will pretty much be available, or once we put it out, will be available on patreon.com/TQM pod. Come and hear about Ben's weird aliens.
Ben's weird alien. That sounds like a brilliant sort of Nickelodeon Cartoon Network show from the 90s.
I like the blue aphids, was it?
Blue avians.
Yeah, that's a great
the
name for a
bird
band
people
as well. Cool. And you can also get to Patreon by clicking the link in the show notes as well, if you want to do that.
You can. So let me just draw this to a close, because this has been mentioned, as I said, not just J.N. and Hynek, but other UFO researchers have noted this. And
sorry, what did we know what Hynek said about that case that he investigated?
No, he didn't make any particular comment about the shape of the aliens. But what has been, so when you look at his work and you look at the work that has been reported by other authors, what is so fascinating is it's the sightings of the Michelin type creatures. It's across about 3 or 4 decades, across continents, and without exposure to each other's accounts.
Right.
They describe the same thing, and they are more or less unified in saying that the walking for these creatures is difficult, feels unfamiliar. They are not seemingly unfriendly, although we have had the accounts of when they take them aboard the ship. Yeah. We've got this paralysis effect. Yeah. We've got this strange thing where they appear to like dressing up in different ways. And we've also got the fact that the aliens the people who experience these potential aliens don't want to talk about it. And this is very specific to these characters. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, like I mentioned, Devil's Den and stuff. But this one, it does feel like there's a particular thing about this breed of alien where people are just like, nope, I don't want to talk about it until it's sort of pulled out of me. So,
are there any more recent, up-to-date sightings, or have these sightings stopped?
No, these sightings appear to have stopped now.
That's weird, isn't it?
There is an interesting point put forward by some researchers. So there's something called the Taylor and Gordon atmospheric diving suit, which does have that same bulbous segmented appearance. And at first, researchers were like, well, I wonder if, aliens need to protect themselves from our pressure, and maybe they have built a suit which is similar in configuration to this particular diving suit. And you probably have seen this. When I've seen it, it reminds me very much, it makes people look like the robot from the original Lost in Space, that kind of bloated out, short-armed look.
Yeah.
But that is also weird because we don't see many accounts of aliens wearing like clumsy spacesuits.
Yeah.
So somebody else, a different reason, and this is literally nobody of note, so I'm not just obfuscating the name.
Right.
It's like Dr. Irrelevant points out that perhaps these could be military abductions, MILABs as we call them, and this is the way of dressing people up so that they appear to be otherworldly, but they aren't. They're humans, and it's a way of like an easy disguise wearing these diving suits. But that is easily dismissed by... But what? So you've got children in these? They're 3.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
Or you've got a basketball team in them because they're 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
Makes no sense whatsoever. Any way that you come at it makes no sense, that earthly explanation. And certainly when it comes to waving and then flying off...
Or knocking on the window for directions.
No, exactly. But when we take these cases as they are reported now, it isn't just the consistency of the things that I mentioned there. It's also the craft. This disc-shaped craft with the clear dome in the middle, that is something that we don't often see. We usually get a mixture of craft descriptions, or quite often people say they don't remember the craft. A lot of abductions, they remember, if they're being taken out of their bedroom, they remember the creatures coming into the bedroom and being taken aboard something that they can describe, like where they were, like the room and the size of the ship. But quite often the actual shape of the ship isn't seen to them because they don't see the outside of it. In this case, even when they appear to have been inside the ship and been subjected to whatever kind of experiments or whatever, they still report this kind of very Looney Tunes. Do you remember? It's only now that I'm talking about it, it's occurred to me. But you remember the little alien who used to be on the Bugs Bunny cartoons? He's got like a brush on his head. Yeah, it's like that because when he gets in and out of it, he's got the steps. Yeah, it's circular. There's a little dome in the middle where he sits and pilots it. That is kind of what they're describing in a way.
But the description sounds very similar to the Broadhaven drawings. In a way, would you say? Because they had domes, didn't they?
Oh, so as far as the ship goes, that's true. Yeah.
I know the aliens look different, but but there is some debate about whether the aliens were seen or not. But the craft sounds very similar. I was thinking that with the egg-shaped description, depends what kind of egg. That what you're describing could look like a fried egg.
That's true. Yeah. No, I think they meant an egg shape, like Lonnie Zamora egg shape. And then, like, finally, I wanted to make the point that Monsieur Fontaine on the Réunion Island, he was a respected farmer, no history of hoaxes. The young girl from Vaux-en-Delay, she kept silent for 30 years. The schoolgirl from Newbury told nobody until she found others who shared her experience. That took her years. She was, well into her 30s before she shared that experience. So it isn't like we've got people who are jumping on a bandwagon I know it's a different sort of bandwagon to, I saw something and that is just what I'm going to say it is. These people have no reason to say these things, and we've always said that on this show. If there's if you can't find a reason to say it, it adds credibility to what they're saying. And I do think the account of Monsieur Fontaine, I think, is fascinating because he really isn't in a position where making up an encounter like this makes any sense to his livelihood, his respect in the local community, anything really. It didn't destroy his life, but it certainly didn't do him any favours when you look at the reports around there, because what I didn't say is people started turning up at his farm, kind of going, oh, can I see where the UFO landed, and tell me what they look like again. He became something of a circus act, and he did not want that.
Yeah.
He definitely didn't want that. So
That's fascinating.
I think it's one of the more...
Well, it's surreal, but it's quite credible when the amount of cases of people seeing it. I've not come across this before. I've never heard this description of an alien, but there are a lot of, like you said, independent examples that did it. And it's interesting, isn't it, that, it's just making you think. Again, if you're coming out from a sceptical point of view, it's, well, the Michelin man's big in France, so you're going to get people reporting this stuff because they're hallucinating it. Or you could say, well, they've just got something to reference it against, so they call it the Michelin man. It is weird, isn't it, that the majority of these cases are in France, where the Michelin man comes from. I'm not making no judgment about that. It is interesting.
No, they are. And that UFO flap, I mean, the bibliography for putting this together is quite a long bibliography, but I knew you'd ask me about that. So that wave of reports was mentioned in the Condon report of 68, Project Blue Book, and in J.R. Allen Hynek's work as well. So it's like there are three good sources to point to that 54.
Yeah.
But what is also interesting, the first report there is from 1950. In 1955, we have the Kelly Hopkinsville encounter, and in 1952 we have the Flatwoods Monster. Both of those very unusual, potentially alien beings who don't look like anything that we would know as part of alien lore today. Yeah. So we've got tiny little goblin type things, and the Flatwoods Monster, which frankly accounts differ, but is nowhere near a grey.
Amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing about these other weird ones on the Extra Scoop. So yeah, come and join us there. Next week, I've got that thing, Ben. I'm on my Kindle, working through a book, 25% through the book, and then I'm starting to get that panic. Am I going to finish it and be able to put an episode together in the week that I've got? But I hope I can, because it's really interesting. It's about real, true magic rather than illusionist magic.
Oh, fantastic. I like that idea of when you can't tell the difference between real magic and a trick. That's what I found so compelling about the Indian rope trick.
That was really good. Actually.
That's one of my favourite episodes, because researching it, I didn't expect it to go where it went.
Yeah.
And I would, if you're new to the show, and I have had a couple of people tell me that they are new to the show. If you are, go back and listen to that, and tell me what you think.
Excellent.
So we know what we're doing next week. We know what we're doing on the Extra Scoop. All that remains to say is
au revoir.
Yes, au revoir. And I have got the fallen Madonna with the big boobies.
See you next time.
We can all sing along to this.
Shall I fade out now and end the episode?
Whenever you feel ready.